Hello, everybody, and welcome to Timeshares, Solution or Surrender. And this is the show that's going to teach you all about timeshares and people that have some problems with it and people that do not. I'm Nick Palavita. I'm going to be the director of the show, but definitely not the expert in the show. Instead, we're going to bring an expert in the area of timeshare who's going to walk you through this whole fascinating labyrinth of legal and also practical issues. None other than Irene Parker. Irene Parker, welcome to your show. You're going to have to carry the show. You know more about timeshares.
Well, we're very happy to be back, and we're really happy to have our guest on today from the industry. Jessica O'Daniel with Redbud Realty will be joining us, but I'd like to just add a footnote to what happened with a past guest. I believe it's hard to keep up with just the last week we had Michelle Jabor, a former Diamond Resort sales agent, and Mark in Minnesota. And the good thing about a weekly show is some of our past guests, we can follow along through their resolution. And there was something really extraordinary that came up. So before we bring Jessica on stage, I'm just going to go over what we learned. And it's very common for people that buy a timeshare to not really know what they bought. So when someone reaches out, they're talking, and the first step should be to get your contracts and have them in front of you. I purposely tell people not to send me their contracts because we promote self-advocacy where you work directly with your resort. The other thing is I'm not a lawyer, and our volunteers are not lawyers. We do have some lawyers that kindly donate their time if we have a legal question that we can't answer. But in this case, Mark and his wife bought 4 times, and we were focusing on purchase number 3 and 4. The most recent was being told that, and the one that drove them into default was being told if they didn't convert to Hilton Max because Hilton bought Diamond Resorts, their maintenance fees would go up and they would lose resort locations. And neither of that is true. The purchase before that was what I had called the ping pong upsell. If you're in Hawaii, you should not have bought in U.S. points because Hawaii is either more valuable or they've had a bunch of hurricanes in the Caribbean. If you're in the U.S., you shouldn't have bought Hawaii because the maintenance fees are high. So I really didn't look at purchase 1 and 2 until shortly before the show. And Michelle and I, we both were flabbergasted that the numbers that Mark's wife had given us was that her first purchase was for 5,000 points at $1.90 per point, so about $9,500. That's a good price for points. They're usually around, $4. But then the second purchase, she said, was 15,000 points or 16,000 for $146,000. 10 months after the first purchase, and that was $9.74 per point. And so I asked her to go back. She said she didn't have her contract, and she called Hilton and was informed that she actually bought 15,000 points for $35,000 or $2.33 per point. I use the analogy as if I want to buy a new Toyota Camry and I go to a dealer and I see a sticker price of $146,000, I know something's wrong. And is it ethical? It must be legal, and I'm glad Nick has a law background. He can let us know how he feels about this, to show somebody an artificially inflated price of $9.74 when no one in their right mind would pay that, unfortunately, because the value of points within resorts are not comparable. They don't have the same value. There's no frame of reference when you buy a timeshare point. So we'll be following along. Mark said they have heard some people reaching out to them from Hilton and see how they proceed. We also had another positive outcome where someone was able to resolve their dispute. So with that, we're going to go ahead and bring in Jessica O'Daniel. And this is just too much fun for me. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Jessica, but in 2015, when I had a horrific experience, I wrote to an attorney in Las Vegas, Bob Massey, because he hosted a show called Property Man. And they, you never think you're going to hear back, but they said they wanted to interview my husband and I on their show. And my neighbor said, why don't you find out who else he's interviewing? And it was David Cortese, I believe you know, from Magical Realty. They also specialize in Marriott properties. And I called him and I said, would you sell my diamond points? And he said, no, and I don't think anybody would, but you could call Tom Tubbs, who is your father. And so in 2016, he said, nope, I don't know of any licensed person that will accept a listing for diamond points. Now, I get calls, if not weekly, sometimes they're on a roll. They call every day, maybe during maintenance fee season, saying they have a buyer for my timeshare points. And you're going to explain to me why you don't even want to accept a listing for companies like that and a few others. So I actually surveyed all the members, there are about 50 members of the aptly named Licensed Timeshare Resale Broker Association. We call LATURBA sometimes. You're the former president and now vice president, Jessica?
That's correct. Yep.
Yes, and so that must be, if you want to buy or sell a timeshare on the resale market, there's no better objective opinion, because obviously if you go to Marriott, they're going to tell you why Marriott's the best. Wyndham's going to tell you why they're the best. Bluegreen's going to tell you. You're getting unbiased opinions. But if I were to call you interested in a resale market, I'm assuming you'd give me a variety of options. So tell me a little bit about why it's better to buy resale rather than directly from the developer.
I mean, the number one reason is definitely the price. You're going to get a better price in the resale market than what you pay directly from the developer. So you're saving money, which that makes everybody happy. You also are going to get an unbiased opinion. We're going to be asking you what your travel needs are. What are you looking to do? What do you see yourself doing in the future? What your budget is, not just here's one resort group that's going to be best for you. So we're going to be asking a lot of questions, and we're not going to push any one brand over the other. It's going to be what works best for each person.
Well, what would be what benefits would be lost? I'm most familiar with Marriott because they do at least support a secondary market. And I am aware that if you buy directly from Marriott, you'll probably pay $16 to $17 per point. But if I buy some Marriott points from you, they are deeded, I believe.
Yes.
And they sell. If I was wanting to sell my points, I could ask someone $3 to $3.50, maybe $4 on the high side. But then Marriott adds a $3 per point transfer fee. Correct. So the buyer of my points is actually going to be charged $6 to $7. And I've asked the question, and I haven't got 100% clear answer. Somewhere I heard that the Marriott Hotel Bonvoy points, you can't go back and forth. Or do you know any restrictions from buying resale or not?
So buying Marriott points on the resale market, you are buying the same thing as you would be from Marriott. You're paying that $3 per point enrollment / transfer fee, but you're getting all the same benefits. Where you're losing benefits on the Marriott resale market is if you're buying weeks on the resale market, you cannot convert those to points. So that's something that buyers have to be aware of, that if they're purchasing weeks, they are getting that season at their home resort. They are not then able to convert it over to the Marriott destination points. So some buyers think, well, weeks are the cheaper way. We're avoiding that $3 per point transfer fee, and then we can get into the point system on the back end that way. That's not correct. But a lot of people, that's all they want, is to be at a specific resort for a specific season and a specific unit size. They don't want to be part of the point system. So for them, that's what they're looking for is the
Okay,
deed.
so if someone has a deeded week, and is that a fixed or floating week?
Either way, it depends on what they're looking for. Most of Marriott is sold as seasons, platinum, gold, bronze, silver. But there are some deeded weeks. Week 51 and 52, for instance, are a lot of times going to be a fixed deeded week. Maybe week 7 at a specific resort will be a fixed deeded week. But for the most part, Marriott has seasons, floating week seasons.
Okay, so if I have a floating week in seasons, and I can't convert those to points?
Correct.
Okay.
Once you purchase it on the resale market. If you purchase it directly from Marriott, then you can. But if you purchase it on the resale market, you lose that ability.
Okay. All right. And then the other is Hilton Grand Vacations, because there has been so much confusion. And now it was bad enough they bought Diamond Resorts, but now they bought Bluegreen Vacations as well. The old Hilton product was a specific deeded fixed week or floating or both?
I think it depends. It's going to depend on the resort. Most of the time, however, you're tied to a specific fixed week. But some resorts, you're going to have a season where those points are going to get you certain sets of weeks. It's going to depend on that resort. It is by case basis.
But the you do have a deeded week, whether it's fixed or it's seasons, but then you also have an accompanying number of points. So say, I have Tuscany Village, and I also have 4,500 or 5,500 points, and we don't want to stay at our home resort, so we can use those 4,500 points to stay a week elsewhere.
Correct.
Diamond sold their points in collections, US collection, Hawaii collection, Cabo collection. We still have Premier Vacation Club collection points. And now it seems like what's primarily being sold is, they don't call it Diamond US collection, they just call it US collection. So Hilton Max is a program, not a product. So there's the only thing that is a Hilton point, a real Hilton point, is the old product that had those points associated with it. Correct. The tremendous confusion is Diamond members will go into a presentation. To gain access to Hilton properties, they have to enroll in HGV Max by buying more US collection points. So again, people don't know what they have. Have you experienced a lot of calls on this?
I've experienced plenty of calls now that people are saying, I've got Hilton points to sell. Can you help me? And the first thing I have to ask is, did you actually purchase originally from Hilton, or did you purchase with a Hilton-backed resort? Or is your original purchase a Diamond purchase or a Diamond-backed resort? Because if it's Diamond points or the previous Diamond product, even this new Hilton product that was converted from previous Diamond points, I don't handle it at all. And like we talked about earlier, I don't know a single licensed legitimate broker that handles these.
And if I had the old Hilton product with the fixed or floating week and the corresponding number of points, and I wanted to sell those, do I sell the week and the points, or can I only just sell the week?
You sell it together. It's a combined product.
So the points will go with the new.
Yes,
and that's
typically how the contract is written up. It'll say week 15, and then it'll also say the corresponding amount of points that's tied to that ownership. So the whole thing goes together.
And now that they bought Bluegreen, one of our board members is very familiar with Bluegreen, and she said her sister bought 60,000 Bluegreen points for 12 cents a point. I guess about $5,000. And if you were to buy those points from Bluegreen, you would pay about $4 per point. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it sounds about right from what the original purchase would be. Really, a lot of times you can buy Bluegreen points, no matter what the amount of points are, for $100 on the resale market.
Do you accept listings for Bluegreen points?
I will if the owner just has no other recourse. But what I first tell them is just contact Bluegreen and ask them if will allow you to deed them back, because Bluegreen does have a deed back program. I think it's a little expensive, but typically, as far as getting out of maintenance fees and getting out of it quickly, that's the best option for an owner, because it could sit on the resale market for 2 years trying to find a buyer. So you have 2 years worth of maintenance fees. It may just be cheaper for an owner just to contact Bluegreen and just deed it back to them.
Well, and I hope we're going to have an upcoming guest where it's a single mom with a severely disabled child. He has 12 doctors, and she only accepted her grandma's points from 20 years ago in Big Cedar weeks if Bluegreen would take them back. And grandma called and said that they would take it back. And when they suspended her account because she let a few friends and family use those points, which is in no way commercial activity, and because of the boy's disability, her account got suspended. And when she called Bluegreen back, they said, oh, that's changed. It will cost you $8,165 for us to take your points back. But if you wait until August, it will be another $5,500.
Oh my gosh.
It's a year and a half's maintenance fees, but her grandma had accumulated over 20 years. They loved their vacation. And a former Bluegreen sales agent told me that those Big Cedar weeks are pretty high demand.
Big Cedar is a popular resort for the Bluegreen system.
So when those are and they actually advised her to foreclose.
Wow.
To default. Only
really?
the resort can foreclose. But they actually and there was another person that called the same situation, that a year and a half's maintenance fees may not be a lot of money for somebody that doesn't have that many points, but $8,165 for a single mom with a disabled chair sounded like extortion to me.
That's a lot of money. And it's been a while since I've dealt with a Bluegreen deed back or helped someone with it. But last time I checked, I thought they were only charging people maybe $800-900, something of that nature.
No, it's a year and a half's maintenance fees now. Someone else posted that it was 2 years maintenance fees. They used to have a donation program, and they had 3 charities, and you'll appreciate this. One of the charities was the Crystal House, co-founded by the co-founder of Red Week.
Oh, really?
And the charity didn't pay maintenance fees. I called it a legal point laundering scheme.
Wow.
But I think another major question, last week we had on, or the week before, Brian Rogers, the TUG admin. And of course, he is your TUG Timeshare Users Group, and Red Week are what would be comparable to the primary residential market as for sale by owner. And I think we might have already asked this question by listening to this conversation, our discussion about how complicated this is. But go ahead and elaborate on why, just like as a homeowner trying to buy a house or sell your house, a lot of people don't want to do for sale by owner. And with timeshare resale brokers, the same thing, that you do the advertising. But can you elaborate on, who should use TUG or who should contact a licensed broker?
Well, I mean, really, TUG and myself kind of go hand in hand. I list some of our own listings on TUG and on Red Week. So a lot of brokers use both of those sites because of the fact that they are great sites that provide a lot of good information. And they're ways of getting our listings out there for more eyes to see. So it's not just our website. I have my own clients' listings on TUG and Red Week. They're great sites to have. And sometimes there's questions I don't know the answer to. So I will go to the TUG forum and look at it and say, okay, I don't know the answer that this one person's asking. Let me look at this one specific resort that I don't handle a lot and see if I can find an answer on TUG for a buyer or seller. But just like what you're asking about for sale by owner, I have clients every day who will contact me and say, I want to sell my timeshare, but I don't actually know what I own. I bought this. I don't know what week it is. I don't know what unit size. I have never been there. Can you help me? Or I'll have clients that'll contact me and say, well, I've got this one resort to sell and this and this and this come with it. And I have to tell them, no, those features actually don't come with it. Once you sell it on the resale market, those features are lost. So some of the for sale by owner listings I'll see out there on some of these sites like Timeshare Users Group or My Resort Network or Red Week. And I can see these listings and I know that they're unfortunately advertised incorrectly because they're advertising things to buyers that they can't actually include with the sale of their timeshare. But the owners don't know because unfortunately they just aren't aware of possible things that are lost once the resale occurs.
Well, when I looked at, let's say, a resort like Vacation Village or something where there will be listings, they're floating weeks. So they're all the same if they have the same views, and yet they'll be listed from $1 to $5,000. And if they're all the same, why would anybody list it for $5,000 when I could buy the same thing for $1?
I have clients that will call me and say, I see this listing on your site and it's listed at $99, but I also want to list mine and I want to list it for, let's say, $5,000. But mine has a mortgage paid off. And I have to tell them, well, so do all these others. But mine also has this. I'm like, so do all these others. So some of these for sale by owners, they truly just think that, oh, this other $99 listing must come with back maintenance fees. It must come with a mortgage still. It must come with some other detriment to the listing that mine doesn't have. Mine's actually better. They're just not aware. And it's really, a lot of it is just not being aware, not being familiar with the resale market, not realizing that what they were sold is not an investment. So unfortunately, it's just, it's just people who are very unaware.
And another big topic with people, and it was David Cortese that explained to me right of first refusal. Mm-hmm. That some people think right of first refusal is a bad thing, where it actually supports the stock price. And when I was involved a little bit with Marriott resales, that it was disturbing to see these great weeks, Aruba and Newport Coast, being gobbled up by Marriott with right of first refusal. And but what I would see is that you could list an Aruba week for $10,000, and if the informed buyer would know that about right of first refusal, they would come in with a higher offer. And besides Marriott, what has your experience been with right of first refusal? How often do they exercise it? And what resorts besides Marriott do right of first refusal?
So there's a lot of resorts that have right of first refusal. For the most part, it's a good thing. There's some resorts that, for instance, Westgate has right of first refusal. And that also is part of the reason why we won't handle Westgate anymore, because there's no value there, but they will just sit on right of first refusals and not respond to the broker or to the seller, and deals will just die. Well, they'll fall apart because of the fact that we don't have answers on right of first refusal, and we can't proceed without that answer. We can't do anything. The title agency can't do anything. But that's a negative side of it. Majority of it, right of first refusal is actually great. It does help owners keep their prices propped up, because there's always going to be a seller out there that says, I don't care, I just want to sell mine for $1. And that will continue to, if prices are listed at $1 or $99 or $100, it's going to drive everyone else to list low as well. But if it's a resort where, the value of the week is going to be at least $5,000 and there's only so many out there, then people are going to offer more. People are going to try to get that week because it is valuable, and the people want that. So Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, like I said, Westgate has right of first refusal. Capital Resorts has now started implementing right of first refusal. I'm not sure that they actually have ever exercised. I think it's more just because they want to review owners that are purchasing and decide whether or not they will allow certain owners to purchase, because we've run into that issue. Breckenridge Grand Vacations probably one of my favorite resort groups to work with. It's a very small resort group. They have right of first refusal. They are so easy to work with. They help their owners by keeping prices up on very desirable weeks. So yeah, it's not a bad thing at all to have right of first refusal if the resort is easy to work with and if they will give you an answer pretty quickly and we can move things on from there.
Does Breckenridge maintain an in-house sales force or just a website for people that want to buy or sell?
So I don't believe they do resales because they specifically mention the LTRBA to their owners as a resource for if you're looking to sell your ownership. You can go to the LTRBA. I know they recommend our brokerage, Redbud Timeshare. They recommend a couple other legitimate brokers who they've worked with consistently and they know will do a good job for their owners. So they don't do in-house resales, but they're very easy to get an answer from, super helpful. I just had a question on maintenance fees actually on Friday and I emailed someone there and they had the answer to me by the end of the day. They're just really, I wish more resort groups were managed the way they are.
Right. And well, I will say Port Elsewhere in Osage Beach. I'll give them a shout out. I'm afraid, they'll get a bad reputation knowing that they're fair to people. One that we've had a lot of concern with, and one of the reasons we had Brian from Tug on, is Club Exploria. Do you accept listings for Club Exploria?
I do not.
Why not?
Really, the main reason is just because there's no market for them. I've learned some resorts, we just can market and market and market, and nobody's coming to buy it. So, we're a company that we don't get paid unless we get the job done for you. So I'm not getting paid. I'm just spinning my wheels trying to find someone to buy Club Explorer. There are not buyers out there. I've done this with my own broker. I've had my own brokerage for 10 years. Before that, I worked for my dad's brokerage for
You're basically born in the business.
I've been in the business since I was 22 and I'm 42. So if that tells you anything, I don't ever remember selling Club Exploria. And so in 20 some years, I don't remember selling Club Exploria. Festiva, same thing. I can't remember the last time I've sold a Festiva. Westgate, I used to handle Westgates. I stopped maybe about 2020 is when I stopped. I'll still handle a Bluegreen here and there. I try to just get them to get the resort to deed it back. But if they need help, I'll help them. But pretty much everything else, I'll handle almost any other resort group. I will handle Diamond Weeks. I will not handle Diamond Points, but I will handle Diamond Weeks.
Right. And one thing that sent Brian from Tug through the roof is Club Exploria is recommending timeshares only and said that they are endorsed by ARDA, and they are charging, I think, about $800 or $900 for a listing. And I asked Brian, well, do they have a secret sauce or massive search engines or something? And he mentioned that, I don't know if it was Sell My Timeshare Now or Timeshares Only, where they never take their ads down. So it looks like there's doing a phenomenal amount of business. But we filed a complaint, or Bob, who was a guest on our show, saying, and I do have a Florida real estate license now that I'm not using, but I still have it. And I learned that a non-licensed person cannot suggest a listing price.
Correct.
So how can someone who works for a listing company, and they say, well, we work with Fidelity Brokerage, but they're still an unlicensed person, I don't feel they should be allowed to suggest a listing price. And yes, they suggested for Club Exploria $8,000 to $11,000 for Grand Seas and $6,000 to $9,000 for Summer Bay.
Yeah, and Summer Bay, gosh, bless their heart. We stopped handling that resort specifically years ago because they were a year and a half out just to handle a transfer. So to answer your question, yeah, if you're not licensed, you can't suggest a listing price. I believe that they market themselves not as a real estate brokerage, but as an advertising company. So they are just putting ads up there for you. I don't know how they are coming up with their valuations. I don't know how they get around it. It's obviously a different business model. But we always tell all of our clients, do not pay anyone any money up front. If you wouldn't sell your home and pay your real estate agent before they get it sold, you shouldn't pay anybody else any money up front. Timeshares are real estate. You shouldn't be paying anybody anything until they get the job done.
Well, and then one of the hazards is if you list with anyone, but we've had people with specifically Sell My Timeshare Now where they will, the scammers will see those ads and then they will call and say they have a buyer. Have you experienced that with any of your people?
You can't through our website because we don't provide any information or any way to contact a seller directly. If anyone sees our listings, they're contacting me. So as the broker, I'm the man discussing everything with buyers and sellers. But yes, there are clients who every single day call me and say, I got an offer. It sounded too good to be true. They want to buy this for that. All I have to do is sign here. And I just have to put a deposit in escrow, or I have to pay a tax fee, or there's just so many different scams out there, especially when it comes to Mexico timeshares, because people think the laws are so different that they have to, there's this, fee, this tax, this Mexican tax, and I've got to put it in an escrow account, but then I'm going to get it back because they're going to pay me so much. And just tell them just to take it out of what they're going to pay you. They're going to pay you $40,000, but you owe a $4,000 tax. Just pay you $36,000. It's fine. They can take it out of that. But the scammers have so many different. I had an argument with a scammer the other day on the phone because I had a lady who said, I think this is true. And I said, it's not. And she said, well, you just call him and ask him. Yeah, it was horrible. He was horrible. There's nothing to say. Even I can try to speak sense to these people and they just come up with a different lie. And they're just going to shut down one operation and turn around and open it up under a different name a few weeks later and scam some more people. They're terrible.
And they're so arrogant.
Oh, so arrogant. Yeah. He told me, he's like, I can really tell how upset you're getting. You need to calm down. You're getting way too upset. I said, you're scamming this woman. She's, 80, 85, you're telling her something that's completely not true. Like, how do you sleep at night? And he's like, oh, you're going to get your blood pressure up. He was trying to act like he was concerned for me. And I was like, you're horrible. Why are you doing this?
Patronizing.
Yes. It's never mind. You're just frustrating. I can't do anything. So.
Now, I saw some of your listings, and the same thing comparable on Tug and Red Week is you had mentioned with, and I'm taking notes because there's a lot of things you're answering that I didn't know. What did you say again about Vacation Village, Summer Bay? You stopped taking those listings?
Well, not Vacation Village, but Summer Bay. I can't remember.
Oh, Club Exploria. That's Club Exploria.
Yeah, Summer Bay specifically, because we did used to handle them just, the weeks, not Exploria points or anything. We used to handle them for a while, and it may have been around the pandemic. It may have been just before. I'm trying to remember, but we had to stop handling them because they were telling the title agency they were so behind in transfers that they were going to take 1.5 years just to transfer any ownership. And I don't know if that was just a way to kind of block the resale market or if they truly had issues internally where they couldn't process an ownership transfer. But, we can't sell anything for anybody and tell a buyer, sorry, you probably won't be able to use this for 2 years at least. Give us the money, give us the transfer fee, but you can't use this for 2 years. So I just had to start telling sellers we couldn't handle it until they got caught up on transfers. And I haven't handled it since then. So.
And then we get a lot of people that they say they're trying to sell Vacation Village at Parkway. Now, Vacation Village has I believe they will not take a timeshare back unless you can prove medical hardship or financial hardship. And my answer to that is if I have a 4-bedroom home and the kids move out, I don't need to prove medical hardship to sell my house. And so is there any resale value for Parkway at Vacation Village? No.
And nope, there's not. There's no value. Doesn't matter what unit size it is. Doesn't matter what week it is. Doesn't matter. is if it's annual or biannual. They're all going to sell for about $100 or less. I tell every owner that contacts me, really what I suggest as well is just go ahead and offer to cover closing costs and transfer fees, which I could probably add that up real fast but it's probably going to run about $800 or $900 for closing costs and transfer fees. And if that's in your budget, to offer to, cover closing costs and transfer fees and be able to cover our commission, then that's what I would suggest, because then just hope that you find someone who just specifically wants that resort for that week and that unit size. And still, even if you offer to cover closing costs and transfer fees and can cover our commission and can do all those things, it does not guarantee a sale. It may still sit on the market for a year, just hoping someone will just say, yeah, I'll pay $1 or I'll pay $99 to purchase it. The only time that we find that they do move is if an owner just happens to have RCI points tied to it. It doesn't increase the resale value, but people are looking for RCI point properties, and that resort happens to have a low maintenance fee compared to the amount of points you can get for it. So we do find buyers that are interested in that. Still doesn't mean it's going to be a quick sale, but it'll probably be an easier sale than if they just have a week and no points tied to it.
Well, that brings up another huge scam. Are these road shows, these dinner road shows, where, and I filed it, but I got it got delivered to my house by mistake, but it's an invitation to a dinner because there's a law that's changed about timeshare, and you better come and we'll update you on, or do you want to get out of your timeshare? And you go to this dinner and it ends up they're selling RCI points through a vacation club. And and we were members of RCI for many years, and then the annual fee kept going up and up and up. But if I wanted to buy RCI points, can I just call up RCI and buy points? But what typically happens at these road shows is they promise if you buy their travel club, which is RCI points, they can get you out of your timeshare, but then they don't. So you end up owning the timeshare you don't want and a vacation club that you only bought to get out of your timeshare. What's the good and bad about RCI points? Because they used to just be an exchange company, correct? When did they start selling points? And if you buy from Vacation Village or one of these places and they have RC points associated with it, does that transfer? That's the one thing I've always been fuzzy on.
Okay, so I'm not sure I'm going to know all the questions, but as far as RCI points, yes, they can transfer to a new owner. It's a $99 transfer fee to transfer. If you're buying that deeded week or deeded ownership from a previous owner, you can then transfer your RCI ownership and membership and points over to the new owner. It's a $99 transfer fee and some paperwork. So yes, that does transfer. And it's a great deal in the resale market if that's what you're looking for, is RCI points. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a good enough deal, though, to go ahead and convert your week to RCI points, because depending on the resort, sometimes it's thousands of dollars to convert your week into the RCI points program. It varies resort to resort, because I believe the resort dictates some of that price and then RCI dictates the other part of that price, because I've heard some resorts will cost $5,000 or $6,000 and I've heard some will cost, $1,000 or something. But it is something that people are interested in on the resale market. It is a good product. A lot of times, though, buyers are looking for those resorts that are less expensive in maintenance fees but get higher amounts of RCI points. So Florida is a place, where maintenance fees are lower. Las Vegas, a lot of buyers are looking for Las Vegas RCI points, things of that nature. I don't know when RCI started offering those type of points program. I mean, more than a decade ago, less than 2 decades ago, somewhere in that range. I don't remember them being part of the resale market when I first started in this business, but I mean, they have as long as I've had a brokerage, so at least 10 years. I'm not sure exactly when, though.
But if I wanted to buy, so would 10,000 RCI points get me a good week somewhere?
No.
How many would I have to buy?
A good amount would be between 70 and 90,000 probably. Some owners already own points, so they're just looking to add an additional amount of points to what they already have. I actually have a buyer who will not buy your deeded ownership, but if you happen to have RCI points, they will pay 1 cent per point to transfer what's currently in your account over to them. Each owner can do a one-time transfer from one owner to the other, and this buyer will pay just to purchase that year's points because they use so many points to travel through RCI. And I mean, they just use hundreds of thousands of RCI points. So sometimes, if you have $90,000 worth of, or if you have 90,000 points per year and you can get $900, that may help cover your maintenance fee, So for some people, that's exactly what they'll do is they'll sell to this. I only have one buyer that does it. I only know one person, but she will contact me. She will not buy your ownership. She will not pay your maintenance fee, but she will just want to buy some points because she uses them to travel.
So just like a one-time, is that like more of a rental?
Yeah, I guess you could call it, a rental. But RCI calls it a one-time transfer. So one time a year, one owner can transfer to another owner their RCI points, and they can do it for free.
Okay, so that brings us up to another big topic, and there's a couple things I want to make sure we have time to get in, but renting. Does your firm handle rentals at all?
I handle no rentals, so I am not a good source when it comes to rentals.
Why not?
It's just not anything that I've ever gotten into. I've stayed busy enough with what I currently do, so it just would be one more thing to add on. And I'm a one-woman show, so I can't handle, check-ins on various weekends. I can't handle, things that you need to be there timely to do. I still have a family. My kids are young, so I can't be there for every little detail of what the rental incurs. A sale is different. A sale, we get the title agency involved. It doesn't have to happen at a specific date. I can be there and check emails when I need to, or just do everything by phone and email. So
there's another cautionary note that Diamond Resorts, their rules are you cannot rent. They prohibit renting to anyone you don't know or use of a third party site. Well, so that's just basically, and then you can friends or family. Well, is a Facebook friend a friend?
Yeah.
And then a commercial use, the biggest problem is they're having a problem defining commercial use. And the attorneys I speak with feel that if you are even if it's somebody you don't know and all you're doing is offsetting your maintenance fees, that should not be commercial use. Yeah. And we are warning that even in cases where in no way was it commercial use, and Bluegreen is still suspending accounts. And so you have to be careful. I do know Marriott now has imposed the restriction, which I think is fair, that no one Marriott person can accept 20,000 points from other owners. And that puts a quantifiable limit on it, and it takes out the ambiguity on that. But and then it's the same thing about vetting and people not knowing what they have. So if I understood you correctly, if I place an ad with you and there are people interested in buying my timeshare, they don't contact me, they contact you just like a regular residential sale?
Correct. I'm the middle woman that's going to work through everything. I'm going to answer the questions. I'm going to be able to provide them pictures, resort details, information on the ownership. If there's a question I don't have an answer to, I'll contact the owner and find out. But for the most part, I handle all the in between.
It sounds like you're the front, the middle, and the end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once we have a sale, the title agency is involved as well. And I'm very lucky to have for the most part, I just work with one title agency. Sometimes buyers will have a specific title agency they want to use, and that's fine if it's a legitimate title agency. But the one I work with is great. I've worked with them for years, and they are very knowledgeable, and they make the process run smoothly.
And yes, so and then what I have a few other topics here, but I think I'm going to let you just sit back, and I'm going to read this letter because we talked about Breckenridge Grand Vacations being a really, really good organization and supporting a secondary market. So I have a lovely couple in California that with debilitating medical conditions. It's just horrible. And they requested, and again, one of those where I'm sure you would not accept a listing for it. There's no market. I haven't confirmed that. I didn't really check to see what's listed on Rick or Tug. But this letter came, I'll just read the highlights of it, from Vacation Villas at Fantasy World. And this family in California, number one, the resorts in Florida, and with debilitating kidney disease or whatever, you're not going to travel from California to Florida to vacation anymore. So he responded to her. This is the president of the HOA from Vacation Villas at Fantasy World. We are not a timeshare developer. We are a not-for-profit owners association with a volunteer board of directors. Let me give you an analogy. Let's say you live in an HOA where they have a swimming pool, and you swam in that swimming pool for 20 years, but now you're older and you're not swimming as much. Do you want us to stop billing you for that pool? That's not fair to your neighbors, is it? Well, stop right there, because if I couldn't afford my HOA fees, which a lot of people in Florida cannot, ours just went up $150 a month, you can sell and go somewhere else. You're not held hostage. So his next point, if I started playing favorites, we would expect to hear from you advocating for families being forced to pay more. I understand it's hard to sell a timeshare. Trust me, I know. If I had a family, I'd introduce them. We'd all be happy. Unfortunately, the Smith family, I don't have a Smith family. We don't have a sales force or a marketing arm. The 2020 maintenance fees are $909 and will likely increase. So the balance for the tenure of your ownership is $9,000 to $11,000. We offer the opportunity to take it back if you will pay maintenance fees for the life of the timeshare, basically. And we consider this to be fair and reasonable, like the $8,165 from Bluegreen. And here is what really sent me through the roof. And I read this to one of our board members, who said she was going postal by the time I read this. If the family truly cannot afford to meet their financial obligations, they are welcome to seek bankruptcy protection. Now, stop right there, because an attorney told me you never file for bankruptcy if your only asset is a timeshare, because it's worthless and will probably become an abandoned asset. And I found that out when someone reached out to me who had filed for bankruptcy, and 7 years later, she received a bill for 7 years of maintenance fees. She still owned it because they never foreclosed. And while this will likely result in other timeshare owners at Vacation Villas at Fantasy World being forced to pay more, we will rest comfortably knowing that a judge fully investigated the family's financial circumstances before acting in the best interest of society. Again, debilitating medical conditions. We do not have the resources to investigate. We trust the bankruptcy court to do the right thing. And then this was, I still chuckle all the time I read this. In closing, allow me, an unpaid advocate, to suggest that other advocates, that would be me, not reference the propaganda presented by a lobbying group funded by the people profiting from timeshare owners. ARDA, not TARDA, we're TARDA, American Resort Development Association, the industry lobby, is an organization of timeshare, and in all caps, developers. That's what the D stands for. I also wouldn't recommend you ask the National Association of Foxes for advice on how to best practices on securing hen houses. And I thought, finally, we agree, we agree on something. And then I cannot believe he signed off warmest regards.
Yeah. I mean, it's so unfortunate because there's so many stories like that out there. There really is. I mean, some people are just completely stuck because there's nothing that can be done. There's no resale market for their property. The property will not take it back, or not with any type of reasonable way. You know, $8, $9, $10, $11,000 is not reasonable. So yeah, there's owners, I feel like, every day. And, you know, sometimes, again, especially, I go back to 2020, but especially during the pandemic, there was plenty of owners that, you know, they lost their job, they had health issues, you know, whatever their situation was, where I told them, you know, I'm not an attorney, I'm not your financial advisor, so don't go to me for your final decision. But if the choice here is putting food on the table, or taking care of medical bills, or paying your maintenance fees, just stop paying your maintenance fees. You know, look at where, you know, pay your mortgage, pay your electric bill, pay your, you know, if they're going to come after you, it's unfortunate, but at some point in time, sometimes it's just not the priority anymore. And there's other people who I tell them, they'll call me and, you know, are 85 years old, 90 years old. And I tell them, you know, what's the worst that can happen? You know, are they going to ruin your credit at 85 or 90? Do you care that much? You know, just, I know that's hard pills to swallow because a lot of people are very hardworking. They don't want to ever default on anything that they had signed up for. It's not in their type of character. But also these resorts, the way that they've treated some of the owners, they don't give them a choice. They don't give them any other ways out. And if it's, you know, your livelihood or maintenance fees, I mean, I feel like the obvious answer is, you know, take care of yourself first and don't worry about the resorts. They're okay. They're not going bankrupt. They're fine. They're not filing for bankruptcy.
Well, and the problem is your resort may have one set of rules when you buy, and a good example is Carriage Hills and Carriage Ridge in Ontario. They are owned by Wyndham, and Wyndham has certified exit program, which is, they've been really, really good as work, and they do not have a fee to take back your points or your weeks. But the problem is if it is a legacy resort, the HOA may be in control and not Wyndham. And so Carriage Hills and Carriage Ridge was originally owned by Shell Vacation Club. And the literature when they bought talked about having resale value. But then 20 years later, it's a completely different owner and there's no resale value. So I hope, you know, Breckenridge doesn't sell to somebody that changes.
And that is the thing. I mean, certain resorts could be managed fantastically. And then if they get bought out, as an owner, you can't control that but on the flip side, it could turn out that you get bought out by even someone better, because I do feel like possibly Hilton being bought out by Diamond, Hilton doesn't have some of those same shady practices that Diamond, or let me flip that around. Diamond being bought out by Hilton, you know, Hilton has much better business practices, I feel like, than Diamond has. So hopefully that's going to mean, not immediately because it takes time for the merger to be complete and figure out, but maybe that's going to mean that in the future, those owners are going to have a better way to get out, or a better resale value, or something better is going to happen for them. It's not currently that way, but possibly. I mean, you know, I do feel like Hilton has a better track record.
Actually, I agree and disagree. Diamond has a transitions program, and even though they charge $1,000 per contract, it's worked very well. You don't even have to talk to them. You just go to your login page under account settings or profile, click transitions, they call up your contracts. But apparently, and I've talked to another person, you know, an expert in the business, where there are many complaints, and there's now Hilton used to look, Grand Vacations used to look more like Marriott on the Better Business Bureau. Now there's over 1,900 complaints. A lot of it is the complaints people are calling in are Hilton Honors member, and they're sometimes not, you know, do you want to visit our vacation? It's a short stay to hear about our vacation program, like our host, Kim Calhoun, and then ends up buying a timeshare. And unfortunately, many of the Diamond sales agents are still working happily. And as Michelle Jabbour, who was on last week, explained, that the people with criminal histories in Florida, one person quit, and when she told me the 3 people on our team, 2 of them I know had impressive criminal histories, and they're the ones saying that if you don't upgrade to Hilton Max, there's not going to be many vacations. So it's buyer beware. And my husband and I have bought and sold 10 houses, and we've always relied on the ethics of the real estate agent. I can't, I don't think I've ever read every word of a real estate contract. And even if you do, what we're trying to lobby for is, it's not fair to not have access to the booking site until after the end of the rescission period.
Mm-hmm.
So, and before it's getting close to the end of our time together today, but you had talked about the negative Mexico timeshares, because the U.S. Treasury has sanctioned a Jalisco Mexican cartel for distributing fentanyl and timeshare exit scams in America. But when we were talking the other day, you had mentioned that there are a couple of Mexico timeshares that you do like and will accept listings for. What were those?
Well, I handle the Villa Group. I handle well, I'm blanking off the top of my head now. You caught me off guard. I do handle the Villa Group, the Mayan Group, anything
Pueblo Bonito.
Pueblo Bonito, anything managed by Resort.com, which is a US-based company. Really, I don't think the issue necessarily is the Mexican resorts. I think it is the scammers who are somehow getting lists of owners and then going down that list of current owners and trying to, we've got a buyer for you. We are, we'll sell it for $40,000. You just put this much money into an account, that type of thing. I don't know how these scammers are getting access to these lists of owners. Maybe it is someone at the resorts that's giving these out to the scammers. I don't think it's the resort themselves from my particular experience, because there's owners at very legitimate resorts that I handle that are still getting these scam calls daily. And it's not necessarily, now every resort is going to try to get you to upgrade when you come down and upsell you and so forth. So, I think that's pretty standard across the industry, but the actual true scams, I don't think that they're actually tied to the resort. I think it is cartel related, and somehow they're buying these lists. Maybe they have some sort of person at the resort that's like giving them lists of owners' names and numbers and so forth.
Well, actually, if you do a Google search of timeshare leads, there are thousands that you can
Probably.
just buy the.
I get spam emails myself asking me if I want to buy lists. They're just spam. I don't click on them because I'm afraid my whole computer will get infected. But I get my own emails asking if I want to buy leads. So.
Actually, as a stockbroker, I did buy lists, and I was amazed that one of the lists I got would show the home mortgage that they took out. And because that's public information, I guess, and then also whether they bought a limited partnership or not. Because if somebody bought a limited partnership, they were probably certainly qualified to buy stocks and bonds from me. Wow. And I actually, it's kind of interesting, when as a stockbroker in Hawaii, I would go from timeshare resort to resort, and I would, pitch brokerage accounts, and a lot of them were independent contractors. And one of them said, "So we're the units." And I had very good clients that became friends that were and so it's not, not all timeshares are bad, and not all timeshare brokers are bad. But it looks like we've got 1 minute left. I don't know if Nick's going to pop in to say goodbye to us today. This was the first time the first time Ken went backstage and left me here, I was like, "Where's Ken?" But
she didn't go backstage. She went to Bali, Indonesia. So she's in Bali.
Goodness.
So that's pretty far backstage. But yes, we are at the hour, so we're going to have to go. Fascinating conversation. I don't know anything about this world, so my learning curve is straight up. But did a great job, Irene and Jessica. I have I said it's just a fascinating, amazing business. And I guess we'll see everybody next week at the same time. And of course, you can see us on Roku TV. For those people who don't know, you just type in Pod TV, watch it on Roku. Amazon Fire, which is, people don't know what Amazon Fire is. It's this. All their fire. We're on Amazon Fire, as well as LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and all the usual suspects on social media. We'll see you next week on the Timeshare Show. Until then, have a good week and stay safe. Bye-bye.